Just like every fan base, some Georgia fans, not all of them, are a special kind of stupid. I ran into a few on Facebook yesterday and today. Let's go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Golden Blue Dude here with you again. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I do college football videos every single day. So the other day, I put out a video on why I thought Kirby Smart should be fired if Georgia doesn't make the playoffs in 2021. Here's the numbers I went by. Georgia has averaged the second best roster ranking for the past 5 years, and they've only been to the playoffs once. I'm not saying get to the national championship or win the national championship. I'm saying get to the playoffs. In comparison, Clemson has averaged the 5th best roster ranking in the past 5 years. And they've been to the playoffs every stinking year in the past 5 years. And they've been to the national championship 3 times and won the national championship twice. Oklahoma, they've averaged the 11th best roster ranking in the past 5 years. And they've been to the playoffs multiple times. No, they haven't won one, but they've been to the playoffs with lesser talent. My point was that Georgia has the best team this year they've had under Kirby Smart. So there is no excuse as to why Georgia should not make the playoffs other than coaching. Now, I posted that video onto a Georgia Facebook group, and those people did not appreciate it at all. They acted like I was trash talking Georgia. No, I was actually doing the opposite. I was saying Georgia should be elite. Georgia has elite talent. There's no excuse for them to not make the playoffs at least every other year. Clemson does it every year. Georgia should at least get there every other year. And one of them even said that there was some SEC bias going on in the committee. If anything, the playoff committee actually likes the SEC. They give the SEC the benefit of the doubt. If any conference is going to get 2 teams into the playoffs, it's going to be the SEC. Now, last year was a one-off. It was because Notre Dame was in the ACC, and the playoff committee does like Notre Dame, and they beat the #1 ranked Clemson Tigers, even though Clemson was missing their biggest playmakers on defense and Trevor Lawrence. But they still beat Clemson. And even though they got destroyed by Clemson in the ACC championship, of course Notre Dame is Notre Dame, so they're going to let Notre Dame in if Notre Dame only has 1 loss or is undefeated. Doesn't matter what their record is in the playoffs, Notre Dame is a great brand for the playoff committee. So that argument doesn't make any sense. One of their concerns is if they fire Kirby Smart, they're scared they're going to become Tennessee. No, that's not going to happen. You've had elite talent for the past probably couple decades. It's you haven't found the right coach for the job. Look, don't get me wrong. Kirby Smart, great recruiter. He is. He's a great defensive mind as well. Offensively, he has no idea what he's doing. Kirby is good at coaching when Kirby doesn't think. Case in point, the national championship in 2017. First half, Georgia dominated Alabama. What happened in the second half? Kirby overthought and decided, hey, I'm going to sit on the ball and we're just going to run this baby out because the clock has turned into our enemy, so it's just Georgia against the clock. And what happened? They gave the game away to Alabama. And one of these fans said, well, have you talked to the staff? Your opinion doesn't count if you haven't talked to the staff. What are you talking about? How does that change facts? Why does it matter if I talk to a member of the Georgia staff or not? You literally have only been to the playoffs 1 time. How is talking to a staff member going to change that? It's still going to be the same. That makes no sense. Oh, and check out some of their plans. Here's a big plan that I've heard from Georgia fans. Waiting out Nick Saban. If we keep Kirby Smart and wait out Nick Saban, either, I don't know, he dies or retires, whatever the case may be, when Saban's gone, then that's when Georgia will make the playoffs every year and win a national championship probably every other year. That's your plan? That's your plan? Waiting out Nick Saban? Waiting for him to go away? Just ask Dabo Swinney, Ed Orgeron, Gene Chizik, Jimbo Fisher. It is possible to win a national championship while Saban is still coaching. Saban is the greatest coach of all time. There's no debate. He is. But that doesn't mean that you're SOL if you play in the SEC and you're never going to get to the playoffs and never win a national championship as long as Saban is coaching. No, that's not true at all. In fact, this is a perfect storm for Georgia this year. They have the best talent, the best team that they've had under Kirby Smart. And Nick Saban lost about 80 to 85% of his offensive production from last year. Yes, Alabama reloads every year, but this team will be less experienced than it was last year. So none of your excuses make any sense. What I'm saying is Georgia should get to the playoffs this year. Georgia should be able to get to the national championship. And Georgia has a really good shot at winning a national championship. This is probably the best chance for Georgia to win a national championship since 2017. It's got to happen this year. So the question became, well, if we were to fire Kirby Smart, who would we replace him with? Well, there are some people out there. Some of them may be not doable as far as actually getting them to Georgia, but there is a list. First up, Lincoln Riley, coach for Oklahoma. He's doing a great job over there in Norman. Not quite a top 10 roster ranking average over the past 5 years, but he's been getting to the playoffs. Georgia probably has close to a 0% chance of getting him, but I'm going to put him on the list anyways. Then there's Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator for Clemson. This guy can recruit just as good as Kirby Smart, and I think he's a better defensive coordinator than what Kirby Smart was. Next up, Matt Campbell, head coach of Iowa State. Guys, y'all don't realize, when Matt Campbell got to Iowa State, that was a wasteland. Go back and look at their record. 2, 3, 4 win seasons. Now they're right up there with Oklahoma. Even if they don't win the Big 12 and can't beat Oklahoma, he still elevated Iowa State to a level that they haven't seen in a while, or maybe ever. Next up, Hugh Freeze. He already knows how to beat Nick Saban, so that's not a problem at all. Great recruiter. Look at what he's doing over at Liberty. Liberty, they came out of nowhere last year. He got transfers from here, there, everywhere. Players that other teams didn't want, he got them and built them up. Hugh Freeze would be a great coach at Georgia. Then there's Bill Napier at Louisiana. He's doing great over there. Louisiana, that's a wasteland. And they beat Iowa State last year. And then there's Jamie Chadwell. The upside to him is tremendous. He's super young, but he took a Coastal Carolina team and got them solidly into the top 25 last year. Good coach right there, up and coming. I even think Tom Herman would be a good fit. I think Texas cut the cord just a little too soon on Tom Herman. I think they should have given him a mulligan last year. I mean, it was COVID, and he had Texas going in the right direction. I think his problem was loyalty. He was too loyal to Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger reminded me of, Jake Fromm. That's who he reminded me of. Oh, and one more. Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. That dude has turned Oklahoma's defense into a top 20 defense. Everybody knows Oklahoma as a great offensive team, but a trash defense. Not anymore. They have a good defense. So I think he would be a good fit as well. So there you go. There's an actual list. And I love the effort that this one guy put in as far as trying to discredit me. He didn't give any arguments why I was wrong or why you should keep Kirby Smart. He just tried to discredit me. I mean, he worked hard at it. I mean, name calling, haven't talked to the staff, don't know what I'm talking about, and telling people not to watch my video. I mean, he is dedicated to discrediting me. But that's okay. I'm going to sit back and see what unfolds for 2021 for Georgia. And hey, if they get to the playoffs, then yes, you should keep Kirby Smart for a little longer. But if you don't, with the best talent that Georgia has seen under Kirby Smart, it's time to move on, Georgia. It's time to move on. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.